everyone. A very good afternoon from TeamLease Digital. We just wait for a few seconds while we have our viewers and guests joining in. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. Here we have some more guests joining in. Good afternoon, everyone that's just joined in. We're streaming live on many platforms on the social media. You will also find the recording of the webinar streaming on all platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, where you can view the recorded versions as well for those who would have missed. Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi there, and a very warm welcome from TeamLease Digital to another episode of our webinar series. Very interestingly, this morning when I was walking towards office, I heard, I usually listen to the radio. And since I'm from Mumbai, Mumbaikars, we're quite, pro to the radio listening. And what I heard was very interesting, saying that, do you know the voice behind the announcements that happen at the railway stations? So all the local trains within Mumbai that run, there's a voice announcement of a female that gives us timing and which local arrives from which platform and where is it headed to. And interestingly, the RJ spoke about saying that, do you know that this voice is not of a woman? It is of a male, somebody named Mr. Shravan Kumar. And it was so good to understand this. And he visualized he kind of spoke and made few announcements there in different languages. He does this, he can do this in more than 13 languages is what he mentioned, and in woman voice tone. So the RG asked him simply saying that, why do you think that you are being made to do this? When there are so many females available in this country today, and why do you think that you are being chosen to do this job? So he said something very interesting, saying that, probably somebody is trying to break the stereotypes where this is a woman reserved job space, and they're trying to experiment it with maybe a male member who can speak in the voice of tone of a woman and in so many languages. And he made a very valid point, saying that it's all about the talent. I don't think that it is about male and female. And that was really interesting to start the day today. And I was thinking, saying that, we need more such men. That's what is the synopsis. Today's webinar is something similar. While we are celebrating women in workforce, we are constantly looking at increasing numbers of STEM participation in India today. Though we've been the highest of STEM enrollments, but impact of STEM enrollment to STEM participation and participation to impact. We are still grappling with a lot of challenges in our society today, while women comprise of nearly half of the population, contributing only to about 18% of the GDP. Lack in gender diverse roles, lack in leadership roles, barriers of primary caregiving, parents at home, and mid-woman crisis is all that we are still dealing with. Okay. Today, I think India is being looked upon the largest economy of talent and diversity, and it is very important that we discuss this subject. And I have some very distinguished guests with me today who are going to add value with their thoughts, with their discussions, and their experience journey all through their career life. Okay. Please note all views expressed here by the guests are purely individual and do not represent any organizational or any other institution. Let me welcome my first guest, Ms. Ritu Raina. Welcome, Ritu, to our webinar today. Ritu basically is the co-founder of a company called as Element Skill. Ritu has been a veteran in her space. She's driven a lot of engagements at Career, People, Synopsis. She's basically worked across a lot of scenario on diversity, women, changing, and change at workforce. She's also led a lot of large stints with organizations such as Tech Mahindra, Amdocs, Honeywell, and so on and so forth. In her 25 years of career across IT, banking, financial services, and telecom, she's known for her research on engaging millennials, a very interesting topic for all of us. And she's pioneered adaptive leadership in India, led a 100 plus member team across major workforces. And today she stands in front of us as the founder of Element Skill, focusing on skilling, consulting, uplifting, and hiring to empower India's youth today. Welcome, Ritu.
Thank you. Just a small correction. I had not worked with Tech Mahindra. So my largest stint was with Amdocs, which is last 1 decade before I founded Element Skill. But yeah.
Well noted, Ritu. Thanks for the correction. We have with us Aparna Mishra, Area Sales Director, one of the leading IT services company in India. Aparna is a strategic IT sales leader with 15 plus years of experience in technology and services. She currently drives Global Capability Center growth in India, brings deep expertise in business development, digital transformation, and client engagement. A strong advocate for inclusive leadership, Aparna also founded Unmute Talks to promote open conversations around emotional well being. Welcome, Aparna.
Thank you, Munira. Thank you, team, for having us.
Wonderful. Aparna, let me start my first conversation with you, where I think we are still struggling to turn our women representation into participation and participation to impact. What is the real gap? What is that we need to closely look at first?
So, Munira, this is the whole topic is around gender parity. And when you start a conversation where we talk about where the gap is, where females are not getting a right kind of platform or a gap in representation, is very oriented when it comes to the opportunities, because the representation is 50%. If you talk about the strength, we are across the world we are 50%, but when it comes to the equal opportunities and the work that we represent, the number goes not even more than 22%, if I specifically talk about India. But even worldwide the number is not more than 43%. I mean, I'm talking the across higher parity number, which is available across the world with the recent studies which are published. And when you talk about where this gap is, the gap is very simple. The things are happening. You also talk that the women, why there are certain skills which are completely boxed for certain kind of a people. We have a biases in our mind, a very silent biases, that if this is a man, this kind of skill should be expected by that person. And if this is a female, the certain skills are only and only expected by those kind of a females. So that box, that typical biasness, which is not very conscious in today's world, because of course we have come long way from the days where even women were not allowed to vote for their own rights, to today when we are actually having this open conversation irrespective of the fact that lot of people may and may not agree to what we say. So yes, our ancestors have done a great job to give us a platform where we have a openness to talk about. But yes, if I have to really point that which are the gaps are, one, whatever is visible on paper is not coming 100%, or even for that matter to a higher level in a reality. So that's the first gap, because if you're telling that this is a policy, that policy has to inculcate in a way that that written policy is making you feel that you can do that. It is not about only talking about it, but also helping them ensure that how to use that policy to the positivity in terms of your or any female's benefit. The second gap, which actually comes when it comes to these kind of representations in terms of a gap, is where the guilt that goes around females. I mean, coming from a personal experience, being a mother is not easier. So if you are going somewhere and doing some job, um, it's a kind of a conditioning which is very weird. I mean, nobody says in today's world don't do this, but the mental conditioning is of that type. So it automatically gives you a feeling that if I am today out for a meeting a little longer, I have to give maybe additional time to my kid in some other way. So that kind of conditioning also makes a gap very automatic, because then we choose very wisely in terms which is okay and doable for us. I mean, a lot of females, it's a real juggle. And third, foremost important thing, there was, I was reading this book, and that was talking about, and I'm sure you would have heard this before also. If you really want to make a strategy, go to men, and if you want to execute it, come to women. So we women we are very hard on us, very hard on ourselves. What do we do in the third term is, we will not agree to something that we can do that till the time we are 100% sure about we can deliver. We start looking at the execution point instead of looking at the area, that okay, let me give a try to it. While figuring out the journey, I will ensure that okay, how the path look like, and I'll go to the result. Instead, we want to see how the final journey will look like, and we plan our stuff like that. And that is where the gap comes. We don't advocate ourselves, we don't stand for ourselves, we don't say that I can do that, I will be able to do that. And that's where the real gap comes in. So for me, these three areas are really the biases which requires strong level of support from everywhere.
Great. I completely agree with you. And we come back to a few more questions, because they relate to what you spoke about in terms of we being, guilt conscious, or probably we not being able to push ourselves to make the impact, or the fine tuning of our DNA in terms of ensuring that, we are the primary caregivers, or we are the primary care, takers, or we are the primary household decision makers in many ways. Aparna, I would like to, Ritu, I'd like to come to you, on a related question which Ritu just spoke about, Aparna spoke about, on your STEM participation. While today it's been a great improvement, we always stood probably top the charts when it came to STEM participation. We still have a 40% of the number, which is globally the highest. However, that particular enrollment and participation of STEM converting to work drops down by 50%, which means our workforce entering ratio is still roughly between an average of 26% or 27% at best. Maybe higher in technology roles, IT roles and IT industries, but on the other side, it's much lower. Why do you think that skilling or education, while our share of education is higher, why do you think that this gap is there, and how does it impact to the workforce?
So first of all, thanks for the question, Munira, because this question I have been grappling with, and I have some insights. When I say I have been grappling with, when I moved out of the corporate, I felt corporate was an ivory world. I was leading D&I globally across the world. I was managing the talent management at Amdocs. And we had all possible mechanisms and channels, whether it is R&R, in succession, in progression. And I felt, yeah, this is great. We are doing absolutely great job. When we founded Element Skill, Element Skill is a company led by women, and we are all women company, and especially in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So that's our unique value proposition. But when I started working with corporates, I'll give you two glaring examples. Without naming the organization, it's a multinational organization, and I was with them. And there's a huge, more than 1,000 employees on the floor, and I was sitting and we were doing some session over there. I could barely see women there, and it was all young engineers. So it was very starking for me. I said, where did these girls go? And then another example where I was engaging with one of our clients, and he said, I'm not able to get girls. I said, why? We are doing skilling for you, this and that. And one day, one of my team members, she went there for a meeting, and she said, the whole floor was happy that there is one girl candidate come for an interview, because the whole floor was of men. It really made me push and think that why is it happening? So since I know I have published a lot of white papers and I'm a researcher by heart, I said we have to go deeper into it. And what I did and what I found, Munira, I will just share those insights. Everything is interconnected. When I say everything is interconnected, your home, your society, your education system, your corporate world. And if you do not integrate these seamlessly and bring inclusion at all the three levels, you will never be able to bring equality. Because Today, the reason you see 40% STEM pass outs and why this, what I would say, evaporation is happening. I did a study with few of the organizations. I took their permissions. I said I want to ask these girls where have their batchmates gone, because this was really bothering me a lot. And you will be surprised to know that the answers were quite, which is which shows us that how society is connected to the corporate and education world. These STEM girls, they were from tier 2, tier 3 colleges. I'm not comfortable in sending my girl to Pune, Bangalore, or Gurgaon. Who will she stay with?
Yeah.
Then I would want her to do work from home. I would want her to work in cities which are very nearby. Or if her roommates are known to her. We don't know what is happening in these big cities. And when I looked at this data, I also picked some information from, you have this a report which the government releases every year. It's called NCEAR, National Council of Applied Economic Research, which divides the households into income. And maximum of the workforce which comes is basically the workforce which comes from lower income or middle income to these cities. So there the biases are even higher. So the population which and for they have different things for boys. Boys, they want to really strive and do well and uplift them economically. But for girls, they are much more biased.
So do we say that this problem is more towards your tier 2 cities or your
Yes,
rural areas, and we have this problem lesser in the metros and tier 1s?
I would say lesser for the pushing them to the workforce.
Sure.
Of course, there are workplace biases. They will
Absolutely.
always, I know, as Aparna said, they will always have those biases when they reach that place. I am saying even before reaching that place, they are
Absolutely.
getting stumbled.
Hmm.
And who is stumbling them? This is the societal bias which is stumbling them. And
But
this societal
interestingly,
bias,
to
yeah,
add to one point, interestingly, do you also agree, and I'd like to ask Aparna as well the same question, saying that, the smaller towns have lesser pay gaps as compared to the metros and tier 1s? Having said that, done that, they have lesser contribution of women in workforce, which means are we dealing with a false positive?
So, Ritu, do you want to answer or shall I take it up?
yeah, please take it up, Aparna.
Okay, so Munira, this is even more interesting. When you talk about a tier 2 cities, and I think Ritu has already touched upon this point very interestingly. When you talk about a tier 2, the passes are very higher. And if you, I mean, I completely disagree to a fact that there is, a certain kind of a gap because they're not even agreeing to a fact that they should work into a certain level. We are not even there. The conversation has not even started. We sitting in the metros are feeling that we are talking about and bringing it to the table, and we are ensuring that the parity, and it's a gender parity. I'm really not talking about female parity. The parity about
Absolutely.
opportunities are really discussed based on the skills you are bringing to the table. But when it comes to the tier 2 cities, the conversation is altogether very different. When the girls is getting married, if they are married, whether they are talking in the right terms, the biological clock we are taking in, the kind of jobs they are taking in, the safety, security. I mean, there are a lot of basics that we need to fix in
Yeah.
and to see the gap. And when you talk about whether the gap is there in terms of remunerations or the opportunities, it's very heavy, very heavy. If you talk about, of course, I mean, you yourself mentioned while in the start of the conversation that how in IT and IT services and the consulting you are able to see the females, but very very recently we are hearing that all these organizations are going to tier 2. Have we ever heard that 2 years back or 5 years back? We have how many organizations have been a part of tier 2 or tier 3 cities? Even in today, I mean, from my personal experience, if I talk about Indore, if I talk about smaller cities, I don't want to name it, but then they have a lot of business and entrepreneurship mindsets, but where is the typical jobs are available? So they have to migrate to metros to ensure that a better infrastructure support is given to them, and that too without a biases around which actually stop them from taking up those possible opportunities which are really waiting for them. So when we go to tier 2, the thoughts are very different, the requirements are very different, the family pressures are very different, and yes, I mean, they would not even understand what would it take to be there? So yeah, we are knocking at a wrong door. So we really have to address these two things in a very different matter.
Agreed. And that leads to another follow-up question and statement. So while you spoke about the various industries, saying that how the IT industry has more concentration of women, but that too in the metros or tier ones, and we're now speaking about moving to tier two. So for example, the global capability centers are now moving to maybe tier two, tier three, opening doors and opportunities as such. But in all of this, we still have a lot of challenge of women in workforce continuing to the various levels of grade of upskilling. So if you have today, we have increased our entry level participation. And in fact, that increase, the report speaks about the increase of entry level participation in industries which are not very women centric. So, for example, increasing an entry level participation in an automotive industry in their engineering design center. Now, here the concentration of women employees would be possibly 0 or 1, which relates to nothing. But today that entry level participation is about 33% average, right? So that's where we see the increase. However, said that, most of the times, in spite of this participation and increase, and I'd like both Aparna and Ritu to throw some light on this point. Why is it that we usually see women, beyond the age of 35, 50% drop, and a further beyond that, another 51% drop largely. And that's where your ratio at the leadership level, and I don't even want to actually speak about the C-suite level. That's just not to be mentioned. So why do you think that happens? While we have these people doing well at education, grappling and getting their way through, cracking interviews, both in each of the cities that you have in India today. But why is that we still have a bigger problem of not having more women leaders, not having more women managers? So what's the take there?
Can I
So
go, Aparna?
yeah,
Yes,
thank you,
please.
because this is something, it's very close to me. It's very
Yeah,
close.
same here.
Absolutely. I think we just,
Thing
you're
which is
Ritu and Aparna, you again, please throw some light on that.
definitely, I'm sure Ritu has something excited to add on in this and which is going to add up. But yeah, because just to start on, as this is a very sensitive topic for me, when you talk about, because after a 15, 17 year of a career, what I've realized or what I've actually understood is there is a strong lack of advocacy. What happened whenever you start your career, and I'm again reiterating how Ritu has touched upon that in the initials, whenever the circle is starting, you have a couple of years in your hand to experiment and see where it goes, what are the areas you want to vibe on, or probably check your areas of interest and take an entry on. Once those starting 5 years are done, you are in a settlement mode, you go ahead and probably look at the next level of your life where your biological, the tickling of your biological measures start. So automatically the one step back goes because your career is about to shake up for multiple reasons.
Mm.
Ultimately, we are not some robos. Of course, in the world now, robos are also entering, but females are no robos, right? We have strong emotional essence which is available. So managing your emotions at all the levels, personal and professional, then the expectations, because our dadis and nanis have been very smartly telling us you can have it all once you're married. No women can have it all. Trust me, no women can have it all. There is nothing like a work-life balance. You are just working for 5 hours and then going back. No, it's not happening. There are days when you're crying for your work, and there are days when you have to give your 100% or even more at your place. And the moment you're a mother, there is no looking back. It's a full-time job, especially if the family needs you more in the initial years. So when you say that how at the age of 30, 35, so as I already mentioned, the biological, the emotional, then the family needs, the parents are aging, the requirements are going hayway, and you being not a robot,
Largely, Aparna, if I
how
have
to
to
manage.
summarize, your point would be more towards the aspects that surround in and around us. Largely, one, also the situations that arise at that stage of the career, probably our fear factor to go overboard at our workplace or in our work careers. Maybe those is what you, if I summarize. Ritu,
No,
if I were to
Mira,
come to
I
you.
add one thing here. What happened? There's something
Let's
called
just hear from Ritu, because if Ritu has a different point, then that
could
that
be
helps us to do a very effective distinction. So
true.
Ritu, do you agree that one factors what Aparna is speaking about? What could be some others, or do you do not agree with Aparna?
No, I agree with Aparna, but I just want to add, I will just give you a data point. While I was working for one of my companies, we did a data analysis. And what we felt is we were exactly, Munira, what you said. We said we have done great in campus hiring, blah, blah, blah. Suddenly, what is happening? From team lead to manager, where do these women go? And this is bang on. Now, I think, again, it's connected to the expectation from a role holder, where from he or she is come. So when you belong to a gender, the expectations are that you have to deliver this, this, this. And these expectations are they're not written somewhere, but they're so clearly laid out without even saying you have to do it. And now, eventually, what happens when you reach at that age and stage, psychologically, how resilient you are, how driven you are, and how mentally independent you are will define your future. See, these attributes are not same for everyone, whether men or women, right? There are men who are less independent. There are men who are less stronger, less resilient. Now, suddenly, this filtration doesn't happen for them. For them, whether you have this or not have, the clock will continue, the work will continue. But what happens to women? They are put into this furnace, pressure cooker. So once they are put into this pressure cooker, then suddenly you see evaporation. And who is evaporating? The one who doesn't have these attributes. I'm so glad to see Aparna today here. Because even in sales or even tech roles, you say, oh, you're a woman. Can you do it? Are you really outgoing? Can you manage clients? So all these questions. Oh, HR is good for you, right? This is operations, it is good for you. So this is automatically. Yeah. So this is, I would say, unequal thing which happens at this stage. Unequal is that you are filtrated out because you couldn't stand that pressure which men doesn't face. And eventually you find very few women who go up there. And trust me, my salute to them, because what a man has to do to be there might be X, but what a woman has to do there to be there is almost 2X. Now, organizations, I always say it is easy to hire women, whether campus or senior levels, but it is important to make them comfortable and make them stay there. And that's where I feel the organizations have a major role to play. So, coming back, what Aparna said, I may have said that in a different format, but it is all about a filtration which happens at this stage, which is unequal. And you have to pass through this litmus test.
Absolutely.
True, true.
I completely agree. I think we've just
Munira, just
yes,
one word I would add here, something called vibing. And when I say vibing, Ritu has already catch this thing. When you are at age group of 30, 35, when you are entering in a boardroom or a room where you have to face the men sitting in front, nobody asks them, घर पे खाना बना के आए हो या जल्दी वापस जाना है या is there something that you are bothering in your mind? Nobody asks that. And then sitting maybe with a one or two females, so you don't understand that whom are you vibing with. The conversations are not very your own type of a conversation. So you don't feel inclusive so many times in the club where the conversations are going on. You don't vibe with them. And automatically the place we are not vibing, you would not want to be there for a longer period. So that's the way the gap automatically
it
reaches.
automatically starts. In fact, not even just in a boardroom. Imagine how many women today can network.
Great.
Networking is very important.
I can just share a recent example. It was just last month. I was going for a panel. It was on a skilling. There were a lot of government, non-government officials, and someone directed me and told me, this is the panel room, this is the green room, you have to get in and we will direct you to the stage and all that. I said, yes. So this gentleman opens the door. When he opens the door, I was lost for 30 seconds because I saw all suited, booted men, 9 of them sitting in the room, and I am entering in. And I don't know how to react. And they're smiling at me, I'm smiling at them. And I'm pulling a chair and then I'm saying, hello, I'm with. No, these situations do come to you every now and then, which, Aparna is saying about vibing, and then you feel you're stuck, right?
Yeah. No, I think it's really interesting. But while we are speaking about, the situations around us, while we keep talking about the challenges around us and things, see, for a country like India, we come with cultures, values, family backgrounds. I think we still own that, right? While I'm not sure whether our children and their kids would want to kind of follow us in these streamlines, but at least I think the 90s are the last of the eras who are going to witness some of these emotional quotients and so on and so forth. But having said that done, I think if the world is changing for better, happier in all pockets, but let's look at that today as women ourselves, how much of it are we prepared and ready to take the risk? And I'd like both of you to please throw some light and give some piece of, not advice, but information to our women listeners and viewers who are here with us, saying that what are few of the things, at workplace that they should constantly bear in mind. They need to practice, they need to fearlessly go out and do that, so that more women can choose what Aparna is doing today and what Ritu is doing today. What are few of the things that you'd like to, bring out to them? And then we touch upon the topic of while women in workforce, what about, our report speaking of more women in contractual workforce, because that's the new norm of mode of employment. We no more have permanent job roles only. We have multiple job mode of employment. So we have the permanent roles, we have contractual roles, we have gig workforce entering, we have consultant roles entering. So how do we make a place here? And are those form of work models more easier for women? So two questions we take. I think one more, meaningful conversation to, some of the areas where I think women need to take the lead for their own betterment and for the betterment of their unit and organization. So we start with you, Ritu, and then we move to Aparna.
Sure. I think I want to give you a hack to the audience. This is a very powerful tool I have found in my own journey. And this powerful tool is self conversation.
Interesting.
And for example, when I started my career, of course, there are biases, you face challenges. I always would talk to myself, and I would always tell myself, Ritu, you can do it. It's not impossible. And this self conversation has helped me multiple times. And it is nothing but it's self affirmation. Because we as women, there is a language which is fed into our brains when we are growing up. Even if you don't want to take that language, it stores in your brain. And eventually, unconsciously, you start believing it. Now, what is important when you reach the age of the work, getting into the workforce, you have to unlearn those things. And the best way to unlearn that is have the self conversation about these affirmations. Another second powerful tool I have found for myself is show up. Doesn't matter what the hell is going behind. Show up, stand, and smile. Because if you will not do it for yourself, no one else will do it for you. And the third and most powerful, I would say, have ambition. Have your own north clear to you. You're no lesser. Because, the problem is that we feel we become bigger by sacrificing. World is ruthless. Come on. No one is going to give you this award for those sacrifices. Be ambitious. And the moment you are up there, there's a saying that everyone bows before the rising sun. Maybe you're all those people who were looking behind, they will come. So my thing is that be ambitious, have your north clear, do a self-talk about affirmations. And the third one is show up. Show up even if when it is the worst of the days. Let it not come on your face and on your smile.
Very well said, Ritu. And I think this is so relatable. And I would like the entire audience to please take note of this. This snippet should go out very well. I think whatever points that you've highlighted, that really stands true. Aparna, over to you. What would you give, as a piece of advice from your experiences or few learnings that can be takeaways for all of us?
Thanks, Munira. First of all, Ritu, you have all my love to you, because yes, these are the powerful tools. I second to whatever this powerful lady, sitting here has said. I completely second to whatever she is completely mentioning it. What I've realized in the whole journey of mine is No one is entitled. And even if you are, that doesn't go anywhere. You really have to be confident to be able to say, hi, I am this. I'm here. You may not know me, but I'm here to talk about this. I want to be about it. At least say and talk. Do not feel that if you have certain entitlement, people will know you. Why would they know you? Nobody has an obligation to know you. And who's going to talk about it? It's you who is going to advocate your own conversation. So, my powerful tool has been be confident about your own self. Just fall in love with yourself. Understand what your individual, unique proposition is, what you're bringing to the table. Be very firm and resilient about what you want. So, the pointers that I always keep to myself is I know who I am, I know what I'm bringing to the table. Once that is clear, you become so power confident about your own self that really plays the whole ball game change. The whole room, the vibrations, the formations that we are looking at, everything changes. So be resilient, be clear on what exactly you are. Once you're clear, you develop that confidence. So that's the next step that you automatically take by just reassuring yourself that whatever you're looking at, you're standing with it. It's you who want it, so you have to fight for it. And be consistent. I mean, today you're saying this, tomorrow you're not standing for your own words. Ritu already said that be very consciously ambitious. I mean, if you're not ambitious, you're not fighting for your own rights. And if you're not doing it for yourself, you cannot fight for a whole organization. So if you're doing it for yourself, then you will be 100% doing it for your teams also. You'll be doing it for your business units also, for your organization also. So at least show up for yourself. Be sure that shit will happen. Keep everything aside. Just show up, just do the thing, be consistent with your work. And nobody is entitled. So please show up and advocate your own work. Say that I know this, I can do this. Do not wait for a 100% ready format. Go and say, I can do that. Figure it out later. That doesn't matter. Figure it out during your journey how you would do that. But go and say, yes, I can. That's
I
the
think,
key
I
to
think
grow.
sometimes it is okay to be less perfectionist and more doing, taking the risk, playing the long haul, compounding of what you've been doing, and I think just being there. So I think that's what our guests are speaking about, and some more interesting conversations. And I'm just thinking of how will I be able to put up all the possible questions in the shortest possible time. But yes, trying to accommodate as much as we can. And one of the important things while we are speaking about what women can do and should do, Ritu, if you may add a few highlights here, considering that you've been part of Element Skill. Why do women, and that's what our report also speaks about, the percentage of women upskilling themselves? We've done our education, we've done something at level one. Now we are into the field, uh, either at home or at the workplace, whichever is the field available for us. But why is that the percentage of women investing in their own skilling, upskilling, reskilling is so less? And do you think that impacts also the workplace and impacts us back in action when we are kind of working in an environment which is changing so drastically?
Munira, the answer to this question goes one of my earlier points when I said there are expectations from the role and they are so rigid and so, I would say scribbled into your brain that you have to follow that. We only have 24 hours. And if I remove the working hours, we have 13, 12, 13, whatever hours, right? And as a woman, we are always juggling between the priorities because we always want to do everything. And in that process of doing everything, the career scope doesn't become a sole journey for us. So automatically, what do you want to do? You will drop, if you go to Pareto's principle, you will want to drop which has lesser impact in the immediate future for you. And what comes there? The learning or the upskilling, because this is okay, I can do it later. Jab time milega, and that time never comes to you.
Yeah.
While let's look at the same scenario for man. What does he have? He has to juggle less. Maybe 60 to 75% takes career, 30% takes responsibilities. So in that 60%, he is still able to find a space for the skilling and for the learning. While as for women, it's other way around. She might be doing 50-50 in both the spaces. So somehow she loses this pie somewhere. And again, my strong recommendation to everyone, here, going back to what I said, when you have to be ambitious, it's not only important to be ambitious, it is important to achieve those goals. Now, to achieve those goals, you have to set your priorities very clearly, because no one will give you that role and position just that you are a woman and you stayed on in the corporate. They will only give you that position because you are equally capable to deliver that. Now when you have to do that, you have to change your four matrix of time management and put in this and outsource the ones which are tactical and which could be something which may not need your attention.
Okay. Aparna, do you think, while Ritu is speaking about, we do 50% of what we do at work, or the hours that we have post work is lesser and we have more responsibilities at our end? A controversial question to you. Don't you think as women we are bad in delegation, either at workplace or at personal front? Do you think that we refrain from delegating more? Our own duties and responsibilities or things which are supposed to be having our primary attention. We don't want anyone else to do it, or we probably are with a biased mindset. You're saying that बराबर से नहीं होगा, ठीक से नहीं होगा the way I want it. Example, today, if you're expecting your spouse to take care of a newborn baby, would you trust him completely and be okay with the way that he's dealing with it, given a fact that it's not in his DNA still, and it will take some time for him to learn that process? Or by default, your mindset is very clear, saying that aapse nahi hoga and I'm going to do this. So, what are your thoughts around it, and does this become a problem?
So, Munira, I agree to your point. It is a problem. And it is again going back to what I have mentioned in the start. We are conditioned like that. So if I'm delivering a baby and immediately if my mother is around, she will say, you take care of it. You get up in the night. It's time for you to ensure that you are up in the night and changing the nappies and doing whatever the required stuff is required. The men may not take a lead in that the way you are. Though in today's world, if I'm seeing a lot of people are actually leading in those ways also, but still the biases are very strong. We still have those kind of stuff. But yes, the coming generation will definitely not fight the way, the fight of millennials have been very different. And that's the reason we are here.
Yeah.
I really doubt that the coming generations, when they're having babies and all of this will not be discussing, the point of discussion will be very different. But yes, the first thing, the conditioning part has to be taken care well. From day one, whenever we say that, okay, you come and do this stuff and you sit and study, I mean, for one gender, that flexibility, and the other one, that conditioning has to go first, or probably has to be even ionized in some way. So that is the way where we are already standing up and we don't show up for ourselves. We have our ways of saying that we can do it better. And also, when you talk about delegation, the word delegation, we know that we are getting delegated. We are not supposed to give it to somebody else. Even if it's a smaller work, the Parito's principle that Ritu just talked about, we always have to understand this is something small, yeah. This person is going to take larger time to deliver this. Let me finish it on my own. That behavior is affecting us in a larger way. If you have to grow in the pyramid, you have to learn the art of delegation, whether it is home or it is professionally. So that art
I think
becomes
that
a
again
must
circles
to.
back to our point of skilling, reskilling, upskilling ourselves constantly, which is, I think, one of the very important factors post the education that we've taken. Interestingly, if you see our report on gender parity, speaks a lot about highlighting the contractual roles in India, which is the new work mode that has been increasingly drastically. However, from 10% of women in contract roles, we are today now at close to about 25 to 28% in contractual roles. But this is a very big difference between the men at contractual roles, which is almost 72% of the ratio. Why do you think that there is a fear in women to, one, pick up contractual roles, especially in fields which are more technology driven, automation roles which are slightly more technically qualified? While I think the woman may have the required skills, required education, but what is the aspect of not being open to being hired in such mode of employment. Aparna, if you may add some points here. I'm sure you interview a lot of people
Yes.
daily, and I think this is a valid question. Yeah.
So, Munira, when you talk about contract, the simple definition of contract is there is no guarantee.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 3 months, 6 months. I mean, the time permits. I mean, 1 year,
Absolutely.
2 years. There's no guarantee for anything. Women go through a lot of mental
That's a
challenges.
perception. No
Yeah.
guarantee is a perception.
No, it's a semi-perception. There is no guarantee, right? I mean, if you see the workforce situation currently in US, there are a lot of challenges are happening, and in under whatever circumstances, I don't want to, because this is not the
True.
channel or a platform to talk about those challenges, but anywhere to everywhere, the first workforce which can get hampered the moment some troublesome situation comes is the contractual workforce. The idea of having a contractual workforce is to give them a clarity that, okay, this is the time we are having work, we want some additional hands here, and this is the time we are really not ready for extra baggage, so please go. I mean, in a simple word, it is like that. So I am not a very strong advocate when it comes to a contractual, high-level contractual work for a woman, because I believe in sisterhood. I would want them to, I mean, why stressing them more with one more situation where they know that after 3 months I have to again struggle for something which is going to give me a bread butter, or probably similar thing which is making me feel vented on my own skills. So that's I mean, there is no harm in evaluating and ensuring your, because there is a lot list of what kind of contract you are entering in. But
Yeah.
if you ask me a broader prospect, the
Absolutely.
resistance comes because they know this, there is an uncertainty attached to it. Anything which is uncertain, females are not conditional towards it. For an example, we are not conditional to the boyfriend who's not committed. We are not conditioned to a man who's not provider. We are not conditioned to a family who's not committed to our goals. We are not conditioned to the leadership who's not looking at us as a value add. That is all our conditionings are. We would immediately start looking at somebody who see us as a addition instead of just a burden. So that I have a very different view here.
Okay.
So
Okay, we take your views. Ritu, let me ask you, do you think that first of all, women today know everything about what a contractual mode of employment is? Are we all well educated or well aware, let's put it like that, about what a contractual engagement would look like before even we deciding whether we enter into or not one? What do you think? You've been meeting a lot of women and obviously organizations around you.
I think we are not. And I will just tell you the first impression which comes to you as a contractual, apart from not being the safety, the security and all that, is that it would be very taxing.
Yeah,
It will be a burnout. It
true.
would be outcome driven. Will I be able to manage that? I think what we don't know and we should know, if you see the biggest change, what is happening in the workforce, it's moving away from the past. The great I would say la la land is over.
Yeah,
Corporates are ruthless, organizations are ruthless, everything is becoming outcome driven.
absolutely.
So to say, having said that I would say that contractual gives a lot of flexibility which this woman should take,
Yeah.
because even if you might feel contractual is a grind, but contractual builds your skills faster. You
Yeah.
are more productive, you are more outcome driven. And as a woman, when you talk about corporate cultures, there's a lot of management and there's a lot of showing up you have to do, uh, which women many times feel it's a wastage, and I might as well go home and do my work rather than getting into these. So in contractual ones, you can really sharpen your skill.
Yeah.
You can go through that grind. You can become, I would say, the skill known to be in the market. And there might be tomorrow 3 companies asking you, can you work with me on this assignment? Can you work with me on that assignment? Which you can do amazingly well, because it does offer you flexibility. It does offer you on the ground learning of the new skills. And what women should not be scared of or wary of is the grind or the burnout, which they feel would come with it. And so far as security part is concerned, yes, I completely agree with Aparna. These are the roles which get the first brunt. But trust me, the world is no more the world which was
Yeah.
5 years back or 10 years back. That world is over now. Today, everyone, man or woman, they have to be competitive. They have to deliver. It is here or now. There is no timeline given. So it is, you have to be you have to be ready for this future of work. And contractual can be a gateway, and it can give you flexibility and help you to build your skills.
Very interesting. I think we have two very diverse but yet so correlating opinion, both from Aparna and Ritu. And I think it will be very difficult for us to get to what is best. But let's put it like this. I think the best option would be which is most suited to your kind of a scenario. I think if you look at contractual workforce today, for many women who probably look at it as saying that it's not a very comfortable position, it will probably be more taxing, it will be a burnout, it will be a temporary. But if for some, it may actually be beneficial considering that it's temporary for me as well, it's flexibility for me as well, I negotiate better and I get to do much more given the time that I am already occupied. So let's look at it, let's put it like this, saying that given the situation that we are in, we choose the work mode of employment. While what Aparna and Ritu said is absolutely fine, that we are in an ever-changing world today. Nothing what was there 5, 10 years back stays here. We probably are entering into a workforce which is getting more flexible. It is an ecosystem where nothing is permanent, but at the same point in time, you have different pockets of the way the work world is, the flexibility to work, the flexibility to kind of have hybrid work mode or remote work mode. At the same point in time, the flexibility to be engaged with maybe more than one organization in a gig workforce or in a consulting approach. So I think that's where I think more women would look like. Since we are talking about, and while time permits, maybe one last attempt on quickly on the technology industry today, where women are more and more seen rising or expected to rise. We still have a lot of gap in few technology roles. Is that an element of purely women not shaping up to those roles? So roles like cybersecurity, roles where we have data engineering, roles where we have architect solutioning, or probably roles in IoT. These are some of the roles where the pain of both women in workforce and at the same point in time, women being paid less is constantly in debate. Ritu, Aparna, would you like to share a few instances as to how
I
this
have
can
a
be more?
I have a data point to share, Monira.
Please,
Just to tell you something more about me.
please.
Apart from Element Skill, I'm also co-founder of Secure Lab.
Mm-hmm.
Secure Labs is a cybersecurity company, and
Wonderful.
I am from an HR background, and I am a woman. And
Wow.
let me tell you, how did this journey start for me? So while I was working in one of the organization, I found this field very fascinating. I was the HR head, and I said, this is very emerging and uprising field. I should really get into this. And when I spoke to one of my friends and I said, I want to do this, he said, have you lost it? I said, I will do it. I will make it happen, and I'll come back to you. Sometimes you take up zid pe le lete ho isko, right? And I will share one more data point, and I want to, as more for my participants. When I started realizing why there are less women in cybersecurity, because even before, like contractual staff, but even before getting into it,
Yeah.
they start realizing that this really is not my cup of tea. I really can't get into it. And in this journey, you won't believe, I met a wonderful lady from Israel who became our advisor over a period of time. And she was 30 plus years in cybersecurity. I'm a non techie, and I had to present Secure Labs in India Global Forum
Mhm.
like a technical person and saying what is the value proposition, which is secure email, our product is saying. I did the same 3 hacks with me. I did a self conversation. I said, I can do it and I have to show up. And I answered everything right. And our product was selected there. So, first of all these apprehensions are our own apprehensions. That is the reason we don't get into it. So, stop apprehensions to every woman, I'm saying. The second thing is that if you look at even the cybersecurity, now I'm deep into it, I would say women can be better professionals. Because when you look at threat research, we
Yeah.
suddenly have this,
Vigilance, threat
eye
research.
at the
I think
back
we have an
of
eye for detail, and all of these become the skills for something to do with cybersecurity.
correct. And the technical things like coding, other things, everything is done by AI now.
Yeah,
So you
absolutely.
don't have to those
Yeah,
linear
yeah,
jobs.
yeah.
So you should explore, and for sure, I must say that drop your apprehensions, get into those fields. And
Again,
look at,
if you see, it circles back to awareness. I think most
correct,
of the points that we are discussing, constantly it comes to my mind while both of you are speaking, saying that, if there is awareness, maybe some percentage can change there itself, But
correct,
without awareness, I think if we're just going to be more judgmental or maybe going to live with assumptions, it probably may not help. And then, we have another excuse to say that, how do you think I can get into cybersecurity? I'm not even an engineer.
correct.
Yeah.
And you gave a great example in the beginning of this conversation about that RJ, right?
Yeah.
So our ability, our biasness to connect talent to the gender is
Yeah.
the biggest mistake
Biggest
way to. It's
mistake. Yeah.
gender agnostic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some
Absolutely.
people can do, some people cannot do. It's just innate in them, and take it with an open mind.
Absolutely. Great. Wonderful. Aparna, your thoughts while we close, a few comments and then maybe we close with Ritu. But please do give us a few comments about you in terms of the workforce, women shaping workforce in India today and tomorrow.
Right. So, Manira, you yourself answered something very important in a single word, which is awareness. When Ritu talked about that, she was cognizant with the fact that she has to represent her own organization at a tech platform, being a non-techie, talks a lot about that what a consistent approach of showing up can give us. The important aspect that I'm able to see, whether you talk about cybersecurity, the AI, and any other kind of a world in terms of clouds, the idea is very simple. These are the latest technology. They'll keep changing. Earlier, the on-prem data centers were there. Now everything is in cloud. The security system will change, but the DNA remains the same. You just have to tell yourself that there is nothing which is not coming up on your way, and you have to accept it. So the
Yeah.
problem is when you have some basics, fundamental clears, and by the time you're reaching, we are already talking about by the time you're reaching to an experience level of to be able to touch these advanced technologies, you're already dropped the game of showing up. So if you're showing up, you're already crossing the DNAs, the fundamentals are clear, the basics are in place. Learning a cybersecurity or showing up for a new AI generations, whether it is for a GCCs or the enterprise or the IoTs when it comes to the manufacturing also, that's the idea is not about the technology. The idea is very simple. Whichever technology it is, just have confidence of in terms that okay, I can learn it up, I can show it up. The idea is to give. When it is mine, I have to give it all. So one simple formula is be confident. Learning is a skill. Keep yourself upskilling to a certain level, and rather reskilling is required. Upskilling, too much of upskilling also create where up, how much up. So a lot of reskilling structure is to be designed. Not everything
Very
is
important. We just keep off thinking of saying that what is the next up thing
what
for
is
me.
next,
But I think
right?
it's very important to reskill in the same
Reskilling.
circumference that you are, which
What exactly
probably, yeah,
interests you? Yeah, and I mean, I can be a person where security can be a very natural instinct of
yeah,
mine, and I'm going with it. I want to go for
absolutely.
it. AI can
Yeah,
be something where
yeah,
I know how this predictives and generatives of the worlds are working, but it has to be very driven. I mean, you cannot say that I'm not driven towards it and I don't want to do it.
yeah,
So you just have to show up for yourself, show confidence, have a self-awareness about your own interest, and go for it. STEM or non-STEM, go for it.
absolutely. I completely agree. I think that's great closing remarks, Aparna. Ritu, do you want to add anything quickly? We just have a few minutes before we end the session. While this can just go on and on, but time is a constraint and we
Yeah,
have to
no,
honor
definitely. But
that.
I
So,
wanna
Ritu,
add
anything from
only
you?
one thing in the
Yeah,
last, which is a mantra for me, is because being a salesperson, every day we are asked, why it's sales? Why not something else? Ritu already said. So anything which is ensuring that you're happy doing it, go for it.
go
I
for
mean,
it.
the mantra for me is be confident, understand your own calling, and if you are there, do not wait that how people are going to jest you with the biases, what the other people are going to talk about you, how the world is going to look at you, because nobody comes when you are in the pool of a regret. Nobody comes to hold you and say that okay, you have why you have not done that, why you could have chosen something else. So instead of regretting, give a try, give a shot. Tell yourself that you can do it, and trust me, the
Thank you,
world.
Aparna. Thank you. Ritu, some closing comments from your side.
So I would say that, when all were young girls, less than 10th grade, we have dreams, we have aspirations, and we want to fly in the sky. Keep that dream and aspiration intact. Let the world not die down that aspiration and that dream. Close your eyes, you're still young. You're in the school and you have your dreams. And keep those dreams alive.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ritu. Thanks to all our listeners and viewers here on this webinar. I think it's very important to constantly do a lot of window shopping at workplace and for your career. I'm sure you don't buy a small piece of potato without visiting 10 shops. Please do the same thing when you are at your career place or you're in your career journey. Be more aware, be more vigilant, take more risks, take the long way. Don't take any shortcuts as such. Trust me, they don't serve. Long hauls keep you going and keep you moving. Pick up skilling, pick up reskilling, an element. Be better in your own space. It's not always about why am I not growing. It's always about why am I not expanding. It's more to do with expanding. It's more to multiply yourselves. Let's not just constantly divide and add ourselves, but multiplying is the key to success. Many more things. Please do read our gender parity report available on LinkedIn, YouTube, and all other social media sites. Please share your comments and feedbacks about our webinar. A big thank you to both Aparna and Ritu. It's been fantastic having you both. I'm constantly memorizing whatever has been spoken, but yes, the repeat telecast will help me do that in my own self upbringing and in my own self of choosing a better way to live for today and for tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, listeners and viewers, and a very good day to all of you from TeamLease. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Munira, for being a wonderful host. Thank you, Aparna. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.